Millionaire took her innocence in a night of passion, but his shocking confession the next morning left her devastated and confused. It all began when Clara accepted an invitation to an exclusive gala in the heart of New York City. A small-town girl who had clawed her way up to a junior position at a renowned publishing house. She was used to standing in the shadows of wealth and glamour. That night, however, everything changed when her eyes met his. Alexander Steele was everything she had read about in the tabloids. Devastatingly handsome, he was the type of man who left women breathless in his wake. And yet his gaze seemed to linger on her longer than it should have. When he approached her during the gala, Clara's heart raced. What could a man like him possibly want with her? But he was disarmingly charming, and before long, they found themselves in an intimate conversation away from prying eyes. And when he invited her to his penthouse for a drink after the gala, she hesitated for only a moment before agreeing. That night was unlike anything Clara had ever experienced. Alexander's attention was all-consuming, his touch igniting feelings she didn't know she was capable of. In the quiet intimacy of his sprawling penthouse, she gave herself to him, succumbing to a passion that felt as though it was meant to rewrite the stars. But when morning came, the warmth of his embrace was replaced by a cold, unrecognizable detachment. Clara woke to find him sitting by the window, his expression somber as he gazed at the city below. When she called out to him, he turned, and what he said next shattered her world. "I lied to you, Clara," he began, his voice heavy with regret. "Last night, I wasn't entirely honest about who I am. There's something you need to know." Clara's heart dropped. She sat up, clutching the sheets around her, suddenly feeling exposed. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice trembling. Alexander ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that betrayed his usually composed demeanor. "I wasn't at that gala just to mingle. I was there for a purpose. To meet you." Her brow furrowed in confusion. "To meet me? Why? We don't even know each other." He hesitated, as though weighing the gravity of his confession. "Your father owed me a debt," he said finally. "A massive debt. When he passed away, that debt didn't disappear. It transferred to you." Clara felt the room spin. Her father had died 5 years earlier, leaving her with nothing but the clothes on her back and a mountain of unpaid bills. She thought she had worked hard enough to escape that shadow. "I don't understand," she said weakly. "How do you even know about me?" Alexander's jaw tightened. "I've known about you for years. I tried every legal route to collect what your father owed, but you were impossible to track down. Then I heard you'd be at the gala. I decided to handle." Realization dawned on her like a cruel slap to the face. "So what? Last night was some kind of manipulation? A way to get close to me?" His eyes softened, but it didn't ease the pain his words inflicted. "At first, yes," he admitted. "But then I met you, and everything changed. I didn't expect to feel this." Clara shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. "You used me," she whispered. "You planned this whole thing. Last night meant nothing to you." "No," he said firmly, taking a step toward her. "That's not true. Last night meant everything to me. Clara, I don't know how to explain it, but I've never felt this way about anyone before. You make me want to be better." She let out a bitter laugh. "Spare me the declarations of love, Alexander. You've already taken everything from me. What more could you possibly want?" He flinched as though her words had struck him, and for a moment, the mighty Alexander Steele looked vulnerable. "I don't want anything from you anymore," he said quietly. "In fact, I'm clearing the debt. You owe me nothing. I just want a chance to prove to you that I'm not the monster you think I am." But Clara couldn't hear him over the roar of her own heartbreak. She grabbed her clothes and fled the penthouse, tears streaming down her face as she stepped out into the unforgiving light of day. Weeks passed, and though Clara tried to move on, the memory of Alexander haunted her. She threw herself into her work, but every spare moment was consumed by the man who had simultaneously ignited her soul and shattered it. One day, a letter arrived at her door. It was from Alexander. Against her better judgment, she opened it. Inside was a simple note. "I'm sorry. Please let me explain. I'll be waiting at the place we first met." Clara wrestled with her emotions for hours before finally deciding to go. When she arrived at the now empty gala hall, she found Alexander standing in the center of the room, looking more unsure of himself than she had ever seen him. "Why did you call me here?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. He turned to her, his eyes full of desperation. "Because I can't let you go," he said. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that what I feel for you is real. I'll spend the rest of my life proving that to you if you let me." Clara searched his face, trying to discern the truth in his words. Against all logic, a part of her still believed in the man she had seen glimpses of that night, the man who had made her laugh, who had looked at her as though she was the only thing that mattered. "Actions speak louder than words, Alexander," she said finally. "If you want to prove yourself, you'll have to earn it." And so began a slow, tumultuous journey of redemption, trust, and ultimately, love, a love that neither of them had anticipated, but one that would change their lives forever.